with these engines, everything's buried away so deep inside the engine, it's easier to change the engine out. So that was Vettel's third engine. Now they can go away and fix simple things like electronics in the garage, at the factory, in between races, so that engine could always be reused. So they put his fourth engine, his V6 ICE engine, into the car, which should be fine. I don't think it's the big update that we've all been expecting. I think it's just the standard spec spare that's gone into the car. Everything should be fine, but alas...
Still running at the old oil regulations then?
Still, as far as I understand, it's the old spec engine, so it's still running to the old oil consumption rules. No big, this 3D printed piston and all these other stories. I don't believe that's within the spec of this power unit. So it should be as reliable as his third engine has been, which clearly, apart from a sensor problem, has been fine. But then, loss of power, big panic, qualifying. And what was going on is you have the turbocharger mounted down behind the engine, almost actually within.
Show us roughly on there.
So what you have is the engine sort of fits this volume here, and behind it you then have the gearbox, or the gearbox case, should we say. And that's much, much longer. And to get the turbo nice and low down, you actually have it sitting inside the gearbox case. And then from the turbocharger, because it's centrifugal flow, what happens is you have a duct that comes out upwards, literally on the Ferrari, just about by the cloverleaf logo there, comes up, and then has to turn around and go into the intercooler, which is mounted in the V of the engine before it gets nice cool air going back in to the engine for combustion. This carbon fibre duct would appear to be exactly the same as the old specs, because again, it's homologated engine, cracked. And with the turbocharger, we're running boost. When you have a crack, the air leaks, you lose all your power. You're just running a 1.6 litre engine, which really won't produce.
And the same duct cracked on Kimi Räikkönen's.
As we understand, prior to the race, again, same spec. Kimi's version was actually slightly older because that's still his third power unit. Cracked as well, led to obviously his problems. And it's unusual.
Now, what do you think that is? I mean, those parts obviously made of Maranello, normal carbon parts like as any Formula One team would make them these days.
Yeah, I mean, they've been clearly 100% reliable up to this stage.
Yeah.
Something's happened this weekend that's made both of them fail. So it could be chance, but a part that's been raced on Kimi's car, quite a few races old, and a brand new part on Seb's car fails almost immediately. So we actually need to start be looking at this cooler situation, which sits on the back of the car. Mounts to the gearbox with this new cooler, which mounts again just above the Alfa Romeo logo there. That's mounted on some quite slender legs, and it's quite a big unit, which means it carries quite a lot of water or coolant, so it's got quite a bit of weight to it. That could be adding vibration into the back of the car, and stuff that is used to the vibration situation that it's raced in all year. Suddenly something changes, just a little resonance, a little harmonics.
Makes sense.
Just leads to a crack. And nobody's fault. It's not the stuff that you can test. You can't run these cars on the track in between races. And it's not necessarily something that may even come up on rig testing as much as Ferrari do that.
And they've got a pretty good rig test.
Yes, well, they run the full AVL rig, which has the engine.
So you would imagine it might show up on that,
or not? It could show up, but would they have run that radiator on there as well? Did they think that was significant enough to test? Yeah, we don't know. Clearly, Marchione...
And they're not going to tell us.
They're not going to tell us. Marchione clearly isn't happy with the situation, was quite verbal in his attack on the Ferrari, saying we're a young team, people are making mistakes and it's not acceptable. And he was quite angry in his comments.
But what's the young team got to do?
Well, I mean, I've never known Ferrari to be a young team. If anything, they're the oldest team, surely. But
seems a bizarre thing to say.
Yes, it's interesting, but it maybe shows his outlook on how the actual people within the team are sitting, and just makes you worry. Ferrari have been very harmonious and stable this year, and I think it's one of the things that's really led to their performance improvement this season and through the season. Are things going to start to fall apart now? That looks like that championship could be slipping from their reach. So
but here's the question: what did they do to Vettel's engine to make it last the distance of the Grand Prix? Do you think they actually were able to do something to that duct?
This we don't know. They could have just simply bonded on more carbon fibre over the duct. If they had suspicions it's something else like that extra radiator, reinforced the mountings for it.